The headset pressed against Alex's skull buzzed like a hive, and then the room fractured into static as if reality itself tore apart. A scream erupted, not from him but from the system, a digital shriek that cracked the silence into shards. Alex whispered, "This isn't real." But the words warped, splintering into echoes that belonged to no throat. Across his vision, a burning line of red text scrawled, "You were never meant to be here." His hands trembled, his avatar's fingers stuttering into pixels, glitching like broken glass melting in slow motion. The space around him rippled, furniture bending, walls dissolving into code rain. He staggered, clutching his chest, though no heart should beat here. "Who's doing this?" he demanded, his voice cracking under fear. Another scream, high, alien, raw, and his reflection surfaced in floating shards. But it wasn't him. It was someone older, scarred and watching with cold familiarity. The static cleared into silence, but the silence was heavier than sound, pressing against Alex's chest like a weight. He gasped, pulling the headset free, but the room was wrong. The corners too sharp, the colors too deep. "This isn't my place," he whispered, though the bed and posters seemed familiar. His reflection in the mirror lagged a half-second behind, lips curling in mockery. Panic surged, his breath catching in short bursts as the walls pulsed faintly like a heartbeat. He slammed the desk with trembling fists. "Stop it! Who's in control?" The voice that answered wasn't his. A deep murmur crawled across the ceiling. "We are always watching." He froze, skin prickling, sweat cold against his back. The world flickered again, a warning of what had just been seen. The silence broke with a small laugh, innocent and fragile. A girl's avatar flickered into existence, wide-eyed and glowing softly, like a candle in endless dark. It was Lily, the one who never saw the metaverse as threat, only as wonder. Alex whispered, "You shouldn't be here," but she smiled, clutching a digital butterfly in her palms. The butterfly glitched, its wings tearing apart into static, and Lily gasped in awe, not fear. "It's beautiful," she said. Alex's chest tightened. She didn't understand. The shadows pulsed at the edge of the room, watching, waiting. He stepped forward, voice sharp. "Lily, log out now." But her eyes shimmered with hope, untouched by dread. She was the light, and that made her fragile. The shadows thickened, and a hand burst through the haze, grabbing Alex's arm. He spun, ready to fight, until he saw Mason's familiar face. "I've been tracking you," Mason said, his voice sharp but steady. The Allel's eyes burned with quiet resolve, though fear lingered beneath. Alex rasped, "Something's wrong with the system." Mason nodded grimly. "It's not the system, it's them." The lights dimmed to black for an instant, then surged with red glow. Lily shivered, clutching Alex's sleeve. Mason pulled them both toward the exit door, which pulsed like a wound in the wall. "We can't stay here," Mason barked, tugging harder as the glitching void crept closer. The red glow swelled into a voice, smooth, calm, yet edged with cruelty. "You think you can leave?" it whispered, resonating through the floor. Mason tightened his grip, face hardening. Alex felt his stomach drop, Lily burying her face against his side. The walls stretched higher, shadows crawling like fingers across the ceiling. From the digital mist, a silhouette stepped forward, tall, confident, cruel. The antagonist had arrived, cloaked in fractured armor that shimmered with stolen light. "You belong to us," the voice declared. Alex's pulse raced, his breath ragged. For the first time he realized escape wasn't guaranteed. It was survival. If survival was even possible. The night pressed heavy against Alex's real-world apartment as he sat, slumped on the edge of his bed, headset resting on the floor like a discarded relic. He stared at his cracked phone screen, unread messages piling like silent accusations. His life outside the metaverse was no refuge, only reminders of bills unpaid. Friendships faded, and a family that barely called his name. He whispered, "I only wanted to matter," the words tasting bitter as they left his mouth. The room's single lamp flickered, casting shadows that stretched too far across the peeling wallpaper. Mason's warning echoed in his mind, but reality felt thinner than the metaverse itself, a place where at least he could be seen. His chest tightened, breath sharp, as though even here the corporation watched. He looked to the mirror, his own reflection broken by cracks, running like veins, mocking him with silence. Mason leaned against the cracked doorframe, arms crossed, his voice low but firm. "You can't keep running into their trap." Alex snapped. "Out there I'm invisible. In there I matter." The words echoed with desperation. Mason stepped forward, the floorboards creaking under his weight, shadows crossing his determined face. He said, "They want you to think that it's how they feed." Alex clenched his fists, anger fighting fear. He spat. "What else do I have? Here are nothing." The tension between them crackled like static, loyalty strained by truth too sharp to swallow. Lily peeked from behind the couch, wide eyes shimmering in the glow of the television screen, her innocence a fragile contrast to their clash. The room seemed smaller, walls pressing in, as if the corporation had reached even here. Lily crept closer, her small voice breaking the tension. "Can't it just be fun?" she asked, clutching her tablet glowing with metaverse icons. Alex's heart sank at the sight of her hope, fragile yet fierce. He knelt, forcing a smile, whispering, "It's not safe? Not anymore." She pouted, eyes bright with stubborn innocence. "But I like the butterflies," she said, and for a moment, Alex saw the world through her wonder. Mason shook his head, muttering, "That's how they hook you." The glow of the screen cast shifting colors across Lily's face, painting her innocence in blue and red. Alex's chest ached, the fragile bond pulling tighter with each heartbeat. He thought of promises he couldn't keep, yet couldn't stop making, because losing her light meant losing himself. From the far corner, a voice cut through the fragile calm, smooth and playful. Daniel stepped from the shadows, his smile too perfect, eyes too sharp. "You're all being dramatic," he teased. Alex stiffened, unease threading through his spine. Daniel had been a friend once, maybe even closer. But something in his grin twisted like a blade. "Why not let Lily enjoy it? She's safe with us." Mason barked, "Us?" Daniel only shrugged, shoulders relaxed but gaze piercing. The words lingered in the air, hinting at loyalty bent toward darker forces. Lily smiled faintly at Daniel, trusting, while Alex's gut tightened with suspicion. The betrayer had arrived, cloaked not in armor, but in charm that cut deeper than steel. The television screen buzzed alive without touch, static swirling into shifting symbols that burned crimson. The voice returned, low and smooth, wrapping around them like chains. "Every choice you make is ours," it whispered. Mason stepped forward, shielding Alex and Lily, fury sparking in his eyes. Alex's stomach lurched, Daniel's smirk twisting into something unreadable. Lily clutched Alex's hand, her small fingers trembling. "They're watching us," Alex muttered, heart pounding. Mason shouted, "Then let them watch us fight." But the room pulsed with red light, shadows writhing along the walls like living code. It wasn't just the metaverse anymore. The corporation's grip was seeping into their reality, bending it inch by inch until no safe place remained. The metaverse loaded like a stage of glass, its surface rippling beneath Alex's steps. He stood in a vast arena glowing with neon, thousands of avatars watching from stands of shifting pixels. His pulse hammered, hands shaking as his avatar armor glitched, seams breaking apart. A booming voice declared, "The corporation rewards strength," and from the center, a towering avatar crushed an opponent with ease. The crowd erupted, their cheers distorted, laughter sharp as knives. Alex whispered, "They're testing me," but his words shook. He stumbled forward, knees weak as the ground cracked. The massive opponent turned, smirking with inhuman eyes. Mason shouted from the edge, "Don't let them break you." But humiliation bloomed as Alex tripped, the arena lights blinding, his dignity peeling away before 1,000 digital eyes. Alex's breath hitched as his armor shattered under the weight of the opponent's strike, fragments scattering like glass. Pain seared even though he knew it wasn't real, his body convulsing with every hit. Mason's voice thundered, "Get up, Alex," but his legs felt like stone. The crowd's laughter roared louder, avatars pointing, their faces flickering with cruel amusement. "Is this your champion?" the opponent taunted, voice booming across the arena. Alex pushed his palms against the floor, pixels cutting into his skin like shards. He thought of Lily, of her innocent smile, and a flicker of strength sparked. His body trembled as he rose, eyes blazing with shame and fury, though the ground shook with another coming strike. The rope around his spirit tightened, each moment dragging him closer to collapse. From the far side of the arena, Lily's voice pierced the noise. "You can win, Alex." Her small figure flickered into view, a fragile avatar too pure for the chaos. Alex's chest ached, seeing her trapped in the corporation's spectacle. "Get out of here!" he cried, his voice breaking. The crowd turned, laughter sharpening, mocking her innocence. She clutched her glowing butterfly, holding it high as though it could shield him. Mason's face darkened with rage, but his fists stayed clenched, powerless against the walls. The opponent laughed, booming, "Even your child believes in fairy tales." Alex's jaw locked, his humiliation twisting into desperation. He knew she was the target now, her light painted for cruelty. The rope pulled tighter, dragging his soul toward the edge of surrender. Daniel appeared in the stands, his smile gleaming under the neon light. "You're embarrassing yourself, Alex," he called, voice dripping with mockery. Alex's stomach twisted, betrayal burning in his veins, though Daniel's tone stayed playful. Lily's eyes brightened, relief flickering as she saw him. "Daniel's here," she whispered, hope softening her fear. But Mason's jaw hardened. He muttered, "He's not on our side anymore." Daniel leaned forward, eyes glinting with something darker, his smirk carved like a blade. "Why fight? They'll never let you win," he teased, hands spread, as if welcoming the fall. The crowd roared with laughter, feeding off Alex's humiliation. Alex felt his knees weaken again, caught between Lily's fragile trust and the knife hidden behind Daniel's smile. The corporation's voice thundered, shaking the arena. "Show them what happens to the weak." The towering opponent charged, slamming Alex to the floor, pixels bursting like blood. Pain tore through him, not just in code but in spirit, humiliation, raw and public. The crowd screamed approval, a wall of sound pressing into his skull. Mason shouted, "Fight back!" but Daniel only laughed, arms wide as though presenting a prize. Lily screamed, "Stop!" her voice breaking, tears streaking her glowing face. Alex gasped, choking on digital dust, his reflection flashing across the floor, older, scarred, and already broken. The humiliation was complete, his dignity stripped, as the arena echoed with cruel triumph. Yet somewhere under the crushing weight, a spark of rage smoldered, waiting for its moment to ignite. The arena dissolved into black static, leaving Alex alone in a shifting void that felt heavier than air. His breaths echoed, louder than they should, as if his lungs were filled with glass. Mason's voice called faintly, "Stay with me." But the words bent, distorted by the shadows. Alex looked down to find his hands flickering, sometimes his own, sometimes older and scarred. His reflection in the floor rose like liquid, whispering truths he feared. "You are not real without us." He shook his head violently, muttering, "No, I'm still here." The void pulsed with waves of red light, every beat syncing with his racing heart. He staggered forward, unsure if the ground existed, his identity peeling away with every step. The metaverse was no longer a game. It was rewriting him piece by piece, until he could not tell where Alex ended and the shadow began. A fragile light shimmered in the distance, and Lily appeared, stumbling into the void, clutching her flickering butterfly. Her small avatar glowed weakly, but the shadows surged toward her like waves hungry for her innocence. "Alex," she cried, voice breaking, "I don't like this place anymore." He ran toward her, legs heavy, the void stretching longer with every step. Mason's figure leapt from behind, grabbing Lily's arm, pulling her close. "They're feeding on fear," Mason warned, eyes darting at the shifting dark. Alex reached them, wrapping Lily in his arms, her body trembling. She whispered, "I just wanted to help." Alex's throat tightened, guilt lashing harder than any wound. The shadows circled closer, voices hissing, promising that her light would not last long. He realized saving her meant risking himself. The void shuddered, cracking open to reveal Mason's face in sharper light. His jaw was tight, sweat glistening across his brow, even though this was not the real world. "We can't keep protecting both of you," he muttered, the weight in his voice cutting through the chaos. Alex snapped, "She's just a kid." Mason's eyes softened, but his voice remained steel. "If we don't survive this, none of it matters." Alex wanted to argue, but his heart broke as Lily clung to his arm tighter, refusing to let go. For a moment, Mason's hands trembled, the first sign of doubt cracking his usual control. The void hissed with laughter, mocking his hesitation. Alex stared at him, seeing the strain in his eyes. Mason was loyal, but even loyalty had limits when survival demanded sacrifice. From behind them, Daniel's laugh echoed, sharp and cruel. He emerged from the shifting dark, avatar polished and untouched, eyes glowing faintly. "Still pretending you can win," he teased, smirk widening. Alex's fists clenched, voice shaking. "Why are you doing this?" Daniel tilted his head, calm as poison. "Because it's easier to be with them than against them." Mason growled, "You sold us out," his body tense, ready to strike. Daniel shrugged, smile charming but hollow. "I never wanted scraps when I could take the whole feast." Lily's eyes widened with betrayal, tears glimmering in her glow. Alex's heart cracked as Daniel stepped closer, each movement dripping with confidence. His words were a knife, and each syllable twisted deeper. The friend was gone, replaced by the betrayer they had feared. The void rippled like shattered glass, and from its depths came the shadow, Alex's reflection made flesh. Older, scarred, eyes hollow, yet burning with truth. It stepped forward, voice calm but merciless. "You cannot run from me." Alex staggered back, shaking his head. "You're not real." The shadow smirked faintly. "I am the part of you that survived what you deny." Mason froze, eyes flicking between them. Lily whispered, "Alex," her voice trembling with fear. Daniel chuckled darkly, enjoying the torment unraveling before him. Alex clenched his fists, fury building, but the shadow's gaze pierced deeper than any weapon. It was not enemy nor ally. It was him. The truth hung heavy in the air, suffocating, undeniable. To fight it meant to fight himself, and in the metaverse, the mirror never lied. Daniel's smirk widened as the void sharpened into cruel clarity. He stepped closer to Alex, voice steady yet cutting. "Did you never wonder why I stood beside you?" Alex's chest froze, dread crawling under his skin. Mason growled, "Don't." But Daniel's gaze burned with envy, his words dripping venom. "You had everything I wanted. Their faith, their trust, even her light." Lily gasped, her glowing hands trembling as she whispered, "Daniel." He smiled, hollow and cruel. "You were never my brother. You were just the wall in my way." Alex's fists shook, the betrayal slicing deeper than any wound. His stomach churned as the truth crashed against him like a wave of fire. The betrayal was not a strike from the corporation. It came from the one he once called friend. The void bent as the corporation's voice rolled like thunder. "He belongs to us now." Daniel stood taller, his avatar glowing brighter with stolen power. Alex staggered, disbelief twisting into rage. "You chose them over us." Daniel's tone was smooth. "I chose survival. You never understood what it costs to be weak." Mason barked. "Weakness isn't trusting people." His words echoed, but seemed to fade against the oppressive dark. Lily clutched Alex's arm tighter, tears shining in her glow. Daniel's smile widened as code crawled across his skin, marking him as the corporation's chosen. Alex's vision blurred, betrayal carving into his soul. The lines between enemy and friend shattered completely. The knife had twisted, and Daniel made no attempt to hide his pride in it. The shadow surged, and Lily was torn from Alex's grasp, lifted into the air by chains of glowing code. She screamed, voice shattering the silence. Alex lunged, hands clawing at nothing. Let her go. His throat burned with desperation. Daniel folded his arms, expression calm, voice dripping poison. Her light will make me untouchable. Mason roared, trying to break through the swirling chains, but every strike bounced away like sparks off stone. Lily cried, "Alex!" her voice cracking with terror. His chest split with helplessness, rage boiling until it felt like fire beneath his skin. The corporation whispered, "Her pain fuels the story." Alex's vision darkened at the edges. This was no fight for victory anymore. It was survival, and they were losing piece by piece. Alex collapsed to his knees, the sound of Lily's screams tearing into him. His reflection flickered in the fractured void. The shadow stepped forward, its scarred face twisted with pity and cruelty. "You cannot save them until you save yourself," it whispered. Alex shook his head violently, shouting, "I won't let her die." The shadow smirked, voice calm. "But she already suffers because of you." Daniel laughed in the distance, enjoying the torment. Mason pulled Alex to his feet, shaking him hard. "Fight back, you can't let them win." Alex's breath came in ragged bursts, fury and grief colliding until the edges blurred. His fists burned with trembling energy as the void whispered his failures. He realized the greatest battle was no longer against Daniel, but against himself. The shadow leaned closer, whispering words that stabbed deeper than blades. "You are the reason they suffer. You built this mask to hide your weakness." Alex roared, fists igniting with glitching sparks of light, fury breaking through despair. "I am not you." His voice shook the void, Lily's chains rattling violently. Mason's eyes widened as if he felt the shift in power. Daniel snarled, losing his smirk for the first time, eyes narrowing in unease. The corporation's voice trembled like static, no longer calm but watching closely. Alex rose to his feet, eyes blazing, not free of pain but consumed by it. The scarred reflection grinned knowingly. The story had changed. The twist was no longer theirs to control. It was his. The void cracked open, light bursting like fire as Alex rose, fists burning with glitching sparks. His voice thundered, "I won't let you take her." Mason's face lit with stunned relief, though fear lingered. The shadow grinned, circling him like a predator. "You can fight me, but you are only fighting yourself." Alex charged, rage fueling every step, the floor splintering beneath his weight. Daniel's smirk finally faltered, unease creeping into his sharp eyes. Lily's chains rattled louder, her cries tearing into Alex's resolve. "Alex, please," she begged. Mason shouted, "This is your moment." The arena of void transformed into a storm of fire and code, each pulse shaking the world. Alex felt power and terror intertwine, realizing he was becoming the storm itself. Mason leapt into the fight, striking at Daniel, their clash sending shards of neon light across the void. Daniel snarled, his charm replaced with fury. "You should have joined me," he spat. Mason's jaw tightened as he roared, "I'd rather burn than betray them." Their blows echoed like thunder, shaking the ground. Alex's attention split, rage at the shadow, clashing with dread for Mason. Lily screamed as chains constricted around her, glowing brighter with her pain. The corporation's voice rumbled. "All stories end in suffering." Alex shouted, "Not this one." The void trembled with his defiance, sparks of hope and fury bending the rules around him. He realized survival meant sacrifice, and Mason's fight might be the first cost. Daniel's blade of red code cut into Mason's side, making him stagger, blood-like pixels spraying into the air. Mason gasped but forced a grin. "Not enough to stop me." He lunged again, slamming Daniel back with raw strength. Alex's heart pounded, torn between helping and fighting his own battle. The shadow mocked him, voice low and venomous. "You cannot save them all," Alex roared, swinging with blazing fists, his strikes meeting the scarred reflection. Each hit shook the void, but the shadow's laughter only deepened. Lily's voice cracked. "Don't give up," her glow weakening as the chains pulsed tighter. Mason stumbled again, knees buckling, but his eyes locked on Alex. "Win this, even if I fall." The words seared into Alex like fire. The chains around Lily shattered suddenly, only to twist into sharper binds that cut deeper. Her scream pierced the void, raw and fragile. Alex's fury exploded, his fists blazing brighter as if fueled by her pain. He struck the shadow, cracking its armor, fragments of his own fear breaking free. The shadow hissed, "Every wound she suffers is yours." Daniel laughed darkly, taunting Mason as he stumbled, but Alex no longer heard him. His vision narrowed to Lily's trembling glow. Mason forced himself upright, roaring, and rammed Daniel into the ground with one last desperate surge. Alex shouted, voice shaking the air, "I will not lose her." The void bent violently, red light splitting into fractures of white, as if the world itself was breaking under his resolve. The shadow staggered, its scarred face cracking, light seeping through fractures like fire under stone. It snarled, "You are nothing without me." Alex stood tall, fists blazing like suns, and roared, "Then I'll be everything you fear." He struck with both hands, the impact shaking the void to its core. The shadow shattered, shards exploding into a storm of broken memories. Fragments of Alex past spinning into the dark. Mason collapsed, Daniel pinned beneath him, his smirk gone replaced with rage. Lily fell as her chains disintegrated, Alex catching her midair, clutching her trembling form. Her glow flickered but did not fade. The corporation's voice screamed with static. "This was not the ending we wrote." Alex glared upward, defiance burning in his eyes. For the first time, the story was his to command. The storm of shattered code faded, leaving the battlefield of silence. Alex stood holding Lily close, his breath ragged, fists dimming as the sparks bled away. Mason groaned from the ground, clutching his wound, his strength nearly gone. Daniel lay pinned beneath debris, his once cocky grin erased, replaced by fury and disbelief. "This wasn't supposed to happen," he spat, eyes blazing. Alex's gaze hardened, his voice raw but steady. "Neither was your betrayal." Daniel laughed bitterly, the sound hollow. "You think you've won? They'll never let you go." Above them, the void quivered, static swirling into towering forms, fragments of the corporation watching like gods. Their voices layered into one, whispering in unison. "The story is not finished." Alex's chest tightened, the weight of their presence crushing. Lily clung tighter, whispering, "Please, don't leave me." He pressed his forehead against hers, murmuring, "I'm right here." For the first time, he felt the cost of his choices carved into his soul. The battlefield was quiet, but the silence was not peace. It was the eye of a storm, waiting for the next strike. Mason struggled to his knees, voice hoarse yet firm. "Alex, end this, or none of us leave." Alex looked down at his trembling hands, unsure if strength remained. The shadow's shards lingered, fragments whispering in his mind, tempting him to surrender. Lily's small hand touched his cheek, grounding him with fragile warmth. "You're stronger than they are," she said softly, her innocence piercing the weight of despair. Daniel sneered from the rubble, blood-like code dripping from his mouth. "She's wrong. You're nothing without them." Mason snarled, forcing himself upright. "You're wrong, Daniel. He's more than their puppet." The corporation's voices thundered, "You cannot escape us." Alex rose, cradling Lily in one arm, his other hand blazing faintly with glitching fire. His eyes burned with resolve, not freedom but defiance. He spoke into the storm above. "Maybe I can't escape you, but I can make sure she does." The void quaked violently, walls of code splintering, as if even the system feared the path he chose. The void erupted as Alex unleashed his fury, striking upward with fire that tore the sky into fractured shards. The corporations screamed in static, their forms shattering into rivers of code. Daniel's eyes widened in horror, voice breaking. No, this isn't how it ends. Mason forced himself forward, gripping Alex's arm for balance, whispering, "Finish it." Lily's light pulsed brighter, feeding his strength, though her body trembled. The void collapsed around them, buildings of shattered memory rising and falling like waves. The battlefield transformed into fragments of Alex's life, his empty room, his cracked phone, the posters of heroes he once idolized. The system tried to drown him in who he had been, but Alex roared above the noise. "I am not your story." The fragments shattered, falling into endless dark. Daniel screamed as chains of fire coiled around him, binding his body and silencing his laugh. Mason collapsed beside him, relief in his eyes despite pain. Alex cradled Lily as the final storm raged, his strength holding against the corporation's last desperate grasp. The void howled, but Alex stood unbroken. The storm quieted, leaving silence so sharp it ached. Mason lay on the ground, chest rising weakly, his eyes heavy but calm. "You did it," he whispered, though his voice was faint. Daniel was gone, consumed by the fire of Alex's fury, only ashes of static marking where he had been. Lily leaned into Alex, her small frame trembling, eyes red from tears. "It's over, right?" she asked. Alex looked at her, unable to answer, because the void still pulsed faintly, watching. He pressed her close, whispering, "For now." Mason smiled faintly, his strength fading. "Then, make it count." Alex's chest tightened as he realized not everyone would leave this place. The battlefield was scarred, the victory heavy with loss. The metaverse was not destroyed, only wounded, waiting to strike again. Alex stood in the ruins, Lily asleep against his chest, her glow faint but steady. Mason's breathing slowed, his body fading with the battlefield's collapse. The void cracked one last time, a single voice whispering, another one logged out. Alex froze, his heart pounding as reality bent. He looked down at his hands, his body flickering between real and digital, blurring until he could not tell the difference. The headset in the real world lay waiting, its screen glowing faintly, as if mocking. He whispered to no one, his voice trembling. "I never left." The words echoed, swallowed by silence. The screen blinked once more, then went dark.